Inder and we are part of the platform enablement team here at Dynatrace, and we enable people to use the platform, such as yourselves. Our office hours are regarding Dynatrace app development, so if you have any questions around this topic, then you can feel free to ask them here. You can also always ask them in our community forum, a developer forum, which we'll link to later, and yeah, we'll share information about that as well later in the presentation. So my name is Sarah, and this is Inder.
Yes, as Sarah said, my name is Inder, and funny enough, this is my first this kind of meeting, office hour meeting at Dynatrace, where I'm actually a host.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. So a lot of first times today, actually.
Yeah, sort of, yes.
Nice. Well, then let's just keep our fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly.
Definitely.
And yeah, let's dive into this section. We hope you've all done your stretches and are relaxed, and you've all got your drinks. And yeah, let's hear some news. If I can click the right button, that is. So what can you expect from today's session? We'll do a short section on what's new. So we'll introduce the developer newsletter and highlight a couple of sections from that. We'll then get to the Q&A session, where it's either questions from you, or we've also prepared some from the community where we thought that they might be useful to you in some way. And lastly, we'll introduce some resources that we think might help you on your journey as a Dynatrace developer. Yeah, let's get started with what's new. Oh, and I'm just remembering that I forgot to record. Ah, it's recording.
I think it's recording.
Cool.
Yep.
It's doing that anyway. Sorry, new at handling this as well. Yeah, so what's new? First, we'd like to point out that the upcoming office hours, just in case you don't stay until the end, there's Dynatrace office hours regarding how to configure Grail and manage data access on Grail. Those will be on Thursday, the February 29th, at 4 p.m. CET or 10 a.m. EST. And the next edition of our office hours will be on Tuesday, March 12th, again at the same time, starting at 3:30 Central European Time and 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Sarah, if I may ask, how can I actually join the Dynatrace office hours?
So as I will show the newsletter later on, so you can just go to the community and either check out our newsletter, or you can also check out the events. I will then show you on the website in a minute, where you can sign up for both of these events.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for asking the question. Yes. Another highlight that I'd like to point out is, so what we usually did in the newsletter was to point out all the changes that happened in the Strata design system. The team has now kind of pepped up their release notes that are available on the developer, Dynatrace developer. And so what we'll do, we'll always notify you when there's been a change, but we'll simply link to the change. And yeah, I've given you a short overview here of what this could look like. So you can see that it's sorted by component, and it's also like any breaking changes or deprecations you will be made aware of. And last but not least, we've noticed that there's always also people who are starting out with DQL for the first time when they start developing apps. And for those people, we think it makes sense to kind of point out the resources that we have regarding learning DQL. So there is an app, which I will also show you where to find, that has a couple of basic hands-on exercises and is really cool to learn the basics. And for a little bit more in-depth information, we have a DQL playlist available on YouTube.
And actually, we have some of the videos within the app itself. So for instance, if you are going through the exercises in the app, and if you want to brush up some concept that you are required to learn, you can just click on the button, which is there on the same page, and you can actually see the concepts and the other educational material there as well.
Cool. Thank you, Inder. That's an awesome remark. So yeah, now let's check out this information. I will share my screen with you now, and we'll go ahead and find out. First, we'll have a short look at developer newsletter, and then I'll show you how you can access some more resources. Yeah, so this is the developer newsletter. Also, in case you don't know this yet, you can find it in the Dynatrace community at developer, and then here clicking on developer blog. This will bring you to this page, and the newest freshly out is number 8. And yeah, as I mentioned, our next office hours are announced in here. Our team was at Perform. Penny, who's in the pictures here, she held an app development session and taught people how to build their own Dynatrace apps. And she used a test environment where they were able to identify users in a finance environment who were doing fraudulent trades. So it was all very exciting. And as you can see, there were a lot of people visiting as well. Yes, here's the Strato release notes that I just mentioned. And here in the highlights for app developers is where you will always be able to find the information if there is anything new in this regard. We've collected a couple of useful resources for you. I've mentioned the Learn to Develop Dynatrace apps with the Learning DQL playlist and the Learn DQL app. And we've also put together a section on podcasts that might help you as a developer. There's also like different levels of information in there. There's something for beginners and something for the more advanced developer in there as well. So yeah, if anything of this is interesting to you, please feel free to let us know in the comments, engage with other people. And also if you want to share some insights that the newsletter might have brought you. Cool. So let's check out some. Let's check out how to find the Learn DQL app. Thank you. Do you want to take over, Andrew?
No, please.
Or...
it's your show.
It's my show. Yes. Finally. Yeah, so you can just either click here on the search button and then search for Learn DQL. Well, yeah, you have to spell it right. And then you can simply click on here. And this will bring you to the Learn DQL app. There's a beginner's exercise, and we'll just take a really short look here. As you can see, the video that Inder mentioned, and I think if we hit play here, you will be able to see Inder teaching you something about DQL.
Hopefully.
All right, yes. So, and I mean, you know, I don't want to spoil any surprises. So now that you know where to find it, you can just go ahead and try out some exercises yourselves. That's one of the resources that I wanted to show you. There's always also the DQL playlist. You can just Google or search in Dynatrace for learning DQL query language or DQL. And you will get to this wealth of videos that we keep updating in quite regular frequency.
Yes, that's true. And we actually have 2 types of videos here. One is to basically explain the concepts with the DQL, but we also have certain use case videos that our colleague Sinisa Zubic is doing, and where he actually takes a use case that you might have with DQL and explains how you can use various elements of DQL and then do this use case basically with DQL. So definitely check it out.
Please do. yeah, so the concepts are the ones that have this DQL icon, and the use case video ones are the ones that you can see here that show you a little bit of data already.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yes, I think that was it. Oh no, wait, we mentioned something else. So if you want to sign up for either of the newsletter sessions, so this registration was actually for today. So it's, but the next one will be out with the next newsletter, and you can click here to sign up for the one for the Grail ones that will happen on the 29th. I will also show you another way to find this information. So if you go here on Dynatrace and then click on events and webinars, you can see in the calendar all the events that are available. And you can click on them and then also sign up from here. So that's the other option to get to this place.
To know that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's, like all roads lead to events. All roads lead to office hours.
Apparently.
Yes, I think that was it for this part. So I'll switch over to the Q&A part again. And then we'll get started with some questions. Good. So next up, the Q&A session. So we don't have any audience questions yet. So we will just get started with our first question from the community. Yes, here we can see that Fabris is interested in whether they can use the WebSockets API in an app. Inder, what do you think? Can they do this?
Thank you for asking me. At the moment, actually, you can't use WebSocket. For instance, if you have to use WebSocket, you need to have two elements, right? The backend which supports the WebSocket, and then in the front end, it's allowed to do. And in Dynatrace cases, we are not allowing WebSocket at all. So you can't use it on the front end. And of course, it doesn't even make sense because your backend can't support it yet. So at the moment, you can't use WebSocket.
That's very good to know. Thank you for this information. And you can also check out our developer forum. Sorry, actually, I misspelled this. So it's the developer portal, Dynatrace developer portal, under reference and then JavaScript runtime. You will be able to find all APIs that you can use from within your app.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all listed there. Then let's get to the next question. Here, Dante Paulini is wondering whether they can use third-party modules in their app.
That is actually a pretty good question, Sarah.
Is it?
Yes, definitely.
That's good to know.
It's not that simple to answer this question. That's why I kind of like this kind of question.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great.
On the JavaScript runtime environment, what you have is that you have a list of web APIs that are supported. That the link that you mentioned, for instance. So you will see list of web APIs. So you can basically go there and you can call fetch, for instance, directly without importing even a line there in the top, any package, you just have it there, right? So certain web APIs are already supported by default. Lots and lots of Dynatrace libraries are also supported. So SDKs that you would see in the developer portal, they are also supported. You just import it, you have it. What we also added recently is that we also added support of certain node modules. Now, well, if the new package that you're installing actually only depends on those node modules, then there is high chance that you are able to actually use that package. But if, for instance, you are installing a library from Node npm and that uses again, for instance, WebSocket, that won't work because the runtime doesn't support that. So that's actually the answer in the nutshell. Depends on what kind of library you want to install. And then you have to see from the list if somehow your library depends on the modules that are listed there or not.
Okay, cool. So that means if the modules that my library uses are on the list, then I can use the third-party app. And if they're not, I can't use it.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's great to know. Something that was also part of this question was that, as you can see here, It turned out later on in the question that Dante Paolini was trying to use this in a JavaScript action in a workflow. And so this is also not supported yet, but there is a workaround if you want to use a third-party package that's compatible. You can simply create an app function, which is what also Dante suggested. You can create an app function in an app and then call this app function from your JavaScript action in notebooks. And then this way you can have a workaround that makes it available still. Yes. Anything to add here?
No, that's Cine answered pretty nicely here.
Great.
And also Dante already figured it out. Nothing to add there.
Cool. The next question we would like to highlight is whether it's possible to access the browser history and use the back button within the app engine. Cine, sorry, Inder, can you give me some insights on this?
Yeah, short answer is actually no, you can't do it. It's not supported. Long answer is why it is not supported, right? And so basically your application is running in an iframe, and that the parent of iframe is something we call app shell. You might have actually read it. We have it in documentation as well. So the app shell is the parent, and there is your app, which is in the iframe. And the history is sort of stored in the parent, in the app shell. And yes, when you are writing code, you're writing code for your application, not for the app shell. So you can have functions like history.back, history.forward, but history is not stored there.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, there is no way you can communicate to app shell to tell the app shell, hey, I want to actually move back or forward. That is not possible. And that's what Cine actually is mentioning here, that at the moment, this is not supported within the Dynatrace apps. But when this will be supported, you most likely would be basically using history.back or forward. Again, no promises there. This is the assumption that I have.
Again, and also if this is something that's of interest to you, you can check out our newsletter. It's also, oh wait, I didn't show you this, but I will afterwards. You can also follow our newsletter and then not miss any edition. So if this feature comes up, you will be sure to hear about it in the newsletter or also in the office hours. Good. We have one more question prepared. And here, Abdel Wahab wants to, or tries to import and use assert in their app. However, this is not working as expected. Inder, can you share some insights on why this doesn't work the way it's supposed to?
Very interesting that none of this question actually has straightforward answer. I'm going to get into it. The process is something that comes from Node environment, right? It's not something part of the browser itself. So definitely if you have this process in your browser code, it wouldn't work. Browser doesn't know what process is. That's first, right? If you have it in the Node, in the app function, we actually support process. It's not polyfill, it's the stubbed module that we use so that we support other third-party libraries. The function itself wouldn't do anything there, but would support other libraries which use this process. That is what actually we have. My question actually is that why do you want to use the process? That would actually help you find out the solution. Because process would actually give access to the command line arguments that user might have submitted and stuff like that, and some information about the process. Depending on the use case, the answer lies there. Maybe you actually you have to use ESBuild plugin to access certain stuff. Maybe you actually just have to do that and that's it. Or you have to write a custom script for that. Again, depends on your use case. But in a nutshell, this would never work in a browser itself because process doesn't exist in a browser. Now the app function, you can still use it, but it's just a stub module.
Yes, thank you. That sounded like a very in-depth answer to this question. That was it question-wise from our side. There haven't been any audience questions yet, so we will just continue to, give you some resources that you can check out. So as already mentioned, whoops, that was unintentional. There's the developer Q&A forum. I will show you in a minute how to get there. we have the Dynatrace developer portal or docs that I will also show you how to use. And we have our office hours, of which the next ones will be on Tuesday, March 12th, again at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 9:30 Central. No, the other way around. 3:30 Central European Time and 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Please don't get as confused as I just did. Yeah, so I will just show you how to check out these resources. Oh, we have a question, and it's whether this session is being recorded. And the answer is yes. We've recorded this. We will also send you out an email after the session where you can then check out all the resources again. Thank you for that question. Yeah, as I said, I will try and show you how you can get to all the good information. So the Dynatrace developer portal is available at developer.dynatrace.com. And you can check this out. There is an introduction. You have some information here on how to get started. There's a quick start and a tutorial for the basic information. And for the more in-depth information, we have this whole develop section that has a lot of guides for very different use cases. We have the reference where you can find out more information about all of our systems. And we have also what's new section, which is where you can find, among others, the design system release notes. So how can you find out how to get to the forum? And I just lost my browser tab. So you can go to community.dynatrace.com. And here under developer, you have where I showed you that the developer blog is also where the developer Q&A forum is. And this is where we actually took the questions from. For example, the last one we answered is the one that you can see here. And yes, I've already showed you how you can sign up for our office hours. And I don't know, Inder, do you have any valuable information to add? Because otherwise, if there's no questions from the audience side, I think we can gift you back 35 minutes almost.
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing, actually. This was something I discovered recently or found out recently, that in order to go to developer portal, actually, there is another URL, which is basically dynatrace.dev. Quite handy, actually, compared to the bigger one. So if you type dynatrace.dev. Typo.
Oops. Well, yes. That always happens when, people are watching.
But this is, again, yeah, it's a shorter link for getting to Dynatrace developer.
That is such an awesome tip. I've only been at Dynatrace for a couple of months, so this was very useful for information for me as well. Thank you. Maybe it will be of use to you as well.
Cool.
Well, then, thank you for listening in. Thank you for asking questions. And hopefully see you in some of the comments on our newsletter or at one of the next office hour sessions.
Sounds good.
We are Inder and Sarah from the Platform Enablement team, and we hope you have a nice evening.
Yeah, have a nice evening.
Ciao.
Ciao.